I got to follow up Danny Mack. That's great. Well, I was forced to bring the paper because my wife's like, she's the coordinator, so she always say, hey, you got this, you got that, you got that. So I got my paper going. But first of all, I want to thank the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, Calgary, the city. They always put on an outstanding job of hosting any event. I was down here once before for an all-star event, and my wife was here, and as soon as you step off the plane, they have the red and the white hats. It's just awesome. So thank Calgary, the city of Calgary, and the Calgary Football Organization. Well, first of all, I want to get into, I was walking down the street one day and I saw this turtle, and he was sitting on this pole. And I was trying to figure out how he got there. Well, guess what? Somebody had to put him there. So guess what? Somebody put me here. And I'm about to go through that line, so bear with me. I want to thank Hamilton. A lot of times you don't realize you try to fight where you're going to go, but it turns out the big guy upstairs has better ideas for it. So I remember playing in Shreveport, and of course Shreveport has a great weather and it's nice down there in Louisiana. So all the U.S. teams folded, and they said, you got this big expansion draft, and Hamilton just selected you. And I asked my mom, Hamilton, you know where Hamilton is? No? And I think it's cold, so I'm being a mama's boy, I'm her baby. And she pulls out this big chest. If everybody knows they went to college, they have these big chests, and she goes and she starts filling this chest up. She has long johns and all kinds of stuff. So I got this chest with all these long johns, and I get to Hamilton, and the sun is out, and it's gorgeous out there, and I'm feeling like, I don't have any clothes to wear. But I want to thank Hamilton. It was just a great atmosphere and a great city for me, and Lord definitely knew what he was doing when he brought me to Hamilton and experienced the Hamilton Tiger Cats and their fans. The fans were awesome. They always had the ladies of Hamilton. I didn't realize that women love football that much. You women love football, right? Oh man, I didn't realize that, but every practice they were there with the cakes, huh, Danny? And the food, and when I first started the league, I probably made I think I got taxed more money than I made after I transferred it back over to the U.S. I think I owed some money. But it was definitely a great experience there in Hamilton. I just want to thank Hamilton and then also the CFL fans, because no matter amount of how much they hated you, you knew inside they loved you because they couldn't wait for you to come to their city to enjoy some of the things that you were doing out there on the football field. So I want to thank the CFL fans. Next, I want to go into my teammates and me being with Danny, and Danny being, we had some of the greatest coaches' minds in the league. But Danny had Coach Lancaster, and I had Coach Suzzy. But our teammates were tremendously awesome. I mean, I'd never been around such a great group of guys, great group of friends, great group of brothers. I haven't experienced it. I went to college and definitely had some great teammates, and everywhere I played had some great teammates, but in terms of a family and a locker room where I think everybody was the same. If you walked in our locker room, you didn't know who was the star quarterback, you didn't know who was the star defensive player, you didn't know who was a star. You thought the trainer, you thought the equipment manager was a star. We were all the same. But I just want to mention some of the players in that locker room because Danny being on the offensive side, we had a different perspective on the defensive side. So I had my great friend Mike Philbrick, and a little story about Mike Philbrick. I came up from the States, and I wasn't a coffee drinker. I never drank in my life, and I didn't experience with a lot of stuff, so I wasn't a coffee drinker. Well, I got into the meeting room, and Philbrick got a way of saying, you know what, you're going to do this. So he introduced me to Tim Hortons. He said, here's your double-double. Sit back and watch this. So I was introduced to Tim Hortons by Mike Philbrick. Then I had great prayers with Jeff Cummings, my really good friend Archie Emerson, and Calvin Tilgo, and Gonzalo Floyd, and of course Danny Mack and Oz. And you can imagine how our locker room is. We have so many players here from that locker room standing with Andrew Griggs and Mike Morreale. And I thought we were playing football, but at the same time, I didn't know if there was football or comedians, because every day there was a certain joke. There were Tim Horton donuts that were brought in, and you wasn't sure if you could eat the Tim Horton donuts. Just say that. There were videos done with these donuts. And the guys that ate the donuts got the opportunity to see the video after the donuts. And let's say there was a lot of guys going to the bathroom kind of washing their mouth out and brushing their teeth. So I won't tell you what they did to the donuts, but we knew not to eat the donuts. But, and then one of a really special guy to me, Rob Hitchcock. He was the first person that I met when I came into Canada. And Rob has a totally different look than he has now. He had hair all the way down his back, and he had these massive arms, and I'm like, oh God, this linebacker's gonna take my spot. I can't, oh my goodness. And when he told me I'm Rob Hitchcock and I'm the safety, and I'm like, safety? Well, Rob was, after there was Earnhardt, there was Rob Hitchcock. He was the intimidator. If you crossed the middle, you were getting locked out. So one day, hopefully, he'll make it up here, because I know he had the talent. I know he'd done the things right to be in such a great honor to be up here. And next, I just want to go into some of the coaches in my life. I had a college coach named Coach Vierick, who, whatever I needed, he actually drove me down for my recruiting visit in college. He was always there to support me. And then in college, Coach Blacknell taught me the game of football. I played at a small high school, and we didn't have great coaches. Our gas man was our football coach as well. So it was one of those situations that I was taught to unloose the gas and tie it back in. Not a lot of football. It just says, go get the guy with the ball. So when I got to college, it was a situation where as long as I was going to get the ball, I was pretty good. I didn't know how to read tackles. I didn't know a lot about the football game. Well, Coach Blacknell taught me the game after he figured out I didn't know nothing about the football game. We played the first wing T team, and if any coaches know, the wing T is all about misdirection. And so I was thinking the ball was going over here, so I went over here, and the wing T, everybody was going this way. And I just so happened to step back that way, and there was a guard sitting there, and he blasted me. And I watched the running back run by me. So the next play, I'm smarter than that. Versus going the opposite way, I backed up. Just so happened the safety tapped me on my shoulder and said, you need to probably get up there and try to make a tackle. I said, they're coming at me from all angles. I don't know. So Coach Blacknell and Coach Jeffries were the tremendous coaches in my life there. Now I want to go to the CFL with, like I said, Coach Lancaster being on the side with Danny McManus, and then we had, I think, probably the greatest defensive mind in the CFL history with Coach Southern. I mean, if we went up against an opponent, they knew that they had to bring out the A game, because Coach Suzzy, I love you, man. He had a scheme for him. Well, starting out, he said, Joe, I don't think you're going to be able to play this position, so we're going to move you to another position. So he moved me from middle linebacker to outside linebacker. I said, okay, I'm getting close to being out of the door. It says, all right, Joe, we're going to move you again. We're going to move you over to defensive end. I was like, oh, my goodness, I never played defensive end. He's trying to get rid of me. Little do I know that he was smarter than me in knowing where I needed to play. And it turned out to be the greatest thing in my life, and I want to thank you, Coach, along with Coach Dennis McPhee. And like we said, there's always a buffer, and Coach McPhee was the buffer. Whenever we would get angry with Coach Suzzy, Coach Dennis McPhee would say, you know what, he'll buff it out and make sure that whatever we thought in our mind, we could sound it off on him. And vice versa, because he took the brunt of a lot of stuff that Coach Suzzy brought out, and they are just like that, peas in the pod. And I just want to thank both of those guys, Coach Don Sutherland and Coach Dennis McPhee. Now I want to go into some of my family, my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law, and all my cousins, and my Uncle Sonny, who always driven up for games from Maryland, North Carolina. He got a chance to experience the Baltimore team because he lives right there in Columbia, Maryland, so he knows really well about the Baltimore team. But just having those people to support you was awesome with everything you did. And then my brother and his wife, my brother's wife was one of those people that stood in the background and just made sure everything went smoothly. When I was off trying to go to college and I had the old Pinto driving down 95 and I break down, she was the one to come get me because my brother was off in college. Came about 3 hours just to give me a jump so I can get back to school. But she was awesome. Then my brother, we've been through everything. And staying in a single-parent home, you experience a lot of things. But he was a person that was my hero. Whatever needed to be done, I always knew that my brother was there to support me and vice versa, along with my cousin Reggie. We were 3 knucklehead boys growing up in the house. Although I was thinking that the older brother could cook, but he couldn't cook a lick. He boiled water, that was about it. So I had to cook the food, but he was always there anything besides cooking. Next I want to go into my late great, my Aunt Josephine, who passed. She was one of my main supporters. She's always came up to the football games. And some of my friends, Angie and Natasha Baroda, who did a lot of work for me up here in the CFL. Next, I want to thank my wife, my beautiful wife. She's always been there to support me and point me in the right directions. I keep trying to tell her, we're football players. We don't plan. After 10 years, she still hadn't got it. But she's always there to plan for me, so I'm happy about that, and always there to support me in whatever I did. My 40th birthday party was probably my greatest day because she pulled out this great feat and great birthday party, and she's always been there to support me, so I just want to thank her as well as my kids. I have younger kids, so I didn't want to bring them because I want everybody to have a good time. But thanks, Mark, for the babysitters and everything. Thank you. And last, I want to thank my mom. She passed away a few years back. That was a tough day. But me and my brother, we made it through, and we're gonna keep her in our memories, you know. And but none of this wouldn't be possible without her. She made it. I broke both of my legs in high school, and of course, a single mom will say, you know what, that's it for you in the football. You know, but she sucked it in and said, you know what, get back out there. So she had to be strong enough to do something like that. So I just want to thank you, Mom. And thank God for this moment. Thank you, guys.